Portland's own concrete5.org.
Oh yeah? Cool. Good morning, totally random, 10 a.m. Pacific time, every Friday. I'm the Friday with the CMS Patrol Squad.
Okie dokie.
Hello! Hello!
Hey.
Welcome to Totally Random. This is Totally Mildly Prepared today. We're out of town last week in beautiful New York City. Thank you very much to our hosts if you're watching. Hello. We're back and just catching up, trying to get everything done. So this is probably going to be a short and a little bit freeform, Totally Random, but some cool stuff to talk about. So let's jump right into it. First is, if you haven't been watching on the blog and chit-chat and various things, we need your help. Last year, we were very pleased to learn that we had been named the fastest growing open source CMS in the 2010 Water and Stone CMS market share report.
Yes.
Something. Yes.
Water
There's a white paper.
open source
It's
CMS.
free. Generally, these kind of analyst-y white papers are things that you get to pay 30 grand to be in, and then you just look like you're great. We don't really do that. So this one is free to be reviewed, and they give you a pretty thorough and thoughtful review, so it's a pleasure to be part of it. This year, we kind of missed their hello email. It went into a box that doesn't really get checked a whole lot, and a little bit behind the game. So if you have a moment, really, I hate surveys, absolutely never do them. This one took me about 4.5 minutes. So, I mean, it really is very painless. It's like 4 or 5 pages, and only 2 of them have a long list of questions, and I think
Help us out.
it would definitely help us out. It'd be very easy for you to answer the questions. There's a link that's going in the chat room. You can find the link in our blog and all over the place. There is a forum thread in Chit Chat with the link in it. If you post back to that forum thread, Matt will give you 500 karma points. It's really very important to us that we do well in that white paper. So please help. Tell your friends to help. That is very good. Thank you. So yeah, that was issue number 1.
Yep.
Issue number 2 is we did a blog post yesterday that everyone should check out if you haven't already. That talks a little bit about large-scale sites with concrete5, and I'm just going to kind of rehash it today. There is a sense, and I don't know why, that concrete5 was built for brochureware sites. I mean, I even see someone posted on, I think, open source CMS that like, oh, this is great for a 5-page site. Anything more than that, no way.
That makes sense.
And that's nonsense. It's foolishness. I mean, for those of you who don't know,
Uninformed.
it's uninformed.
Very uninformed.
The first site that we ever built with Concrete CMS back in 2003 was for the Ad Council. It was a national national site that had TV spots, and we were supporting 10,000 users per second when those TV commercials ran. On that project, we had 80 project stakeholders. There were thousands of pages. Concrete5 was absolutely meant to build large community sites. It doesn't look like a community out of the box because it's a framework and you can build anything that you want with it, but you can definitely do that. For the next 5 years, we sold it as commercial software, and most of the clients that we dealt with at that point were startups that were building online communities, large companies or organizations like the National Guard. We built Kettle Chip's website with it. They're owned by a huge VC group. You can build big, stable, happy things with Concrete5.
School Pulse had a section of pages and groups for every school in the country.
That's right. School Pulse was a startup that we built before Facebook was popular, still in the MySpace days. This was MySpace for moms, and there was, I don't know, like 6 or 7 kind of default, even if a school hadn't used it at all. There was a calendar, a forum, to-do area, half a dozen everything. Yeah, so millions of pages, no problems. Now I know Concrete5's got a lot of code, and if you set it up on GoDaddy and you don't turn caching on, it can be a little slow. Cool story. If you know what you're doing and you optimize it at all, you can totally build big sites. Case in point, our own site. So we've run Google Analytics for a long time, and we had this beautiful little curve that went like that. until Google launched Google Plus and single sign-on completely destroyed our 3 years of analytics data. Awesome, guys.
You can get this is totally an aside, but I
Yes.
meant to tell you this. If you pay for Google Apps now, you can get phone support.
Yeah.
So you can yell at someone who won't be able to fix your problem.
That sounds very sad.
Yeah.
I spend my time. Maybe my inbox is full. Maybe we should pay for that. Nice to not see the ads. Anyway, we use Google Analytics, and we'd always just kind of looked at that and thought, oh yeah, looks like it's kind of busy. I was chatting with Andy yesterday, and he pointed out, that the great deal of our traffic doesn't come from the front end at all, right?
Yeah, correct. It's we serve a certain amount of people on the front end of our website every day for the forums and the how-tos and browsing the marketplace and learning your first experience with concrete5 if you're searching through Google. Every single site that's been made since we launched the marketplace like 2.5 years ago. It's every time you connect to the community or browse add-ons or themes through your own site or download add-ons or themes to your own site, you're hitting concrete5.org and you are not being tracked by our analytics software. And also, you're not really, there's not a lot of optimization there. I mean, there's a lot of dynamic content because we have to know who you are, we have to serve up lots of data remotely, and we can't really cache that stuff. And we can cache parts of it, but we really haven't yet, and we're just kind of serving this data up. And there's a lot of it, just very dynamically for every site that requests it in real time.
Right. Moreover, I gave you like a week and a half to build that. And
Yeah.
you did it.
Yeah.
We never really thought about it again.
Yeah. It's and as it's grown and 5.5 more marketplace integration, we're sending even more data about add-ons, including reviews and things like that, off of the site. So, and that's currently happening right now. So it's handling load for features that aren't even being used in the front end of the.
That's right, but these are all still scripts that are running out of concrete5. These aren't standalone PHP scripts that are just doing.
Correct.
They're still all the overhead that people find so overwhelming with concrete5 and Zend and all that.
Yeah, they all call Zend. They all work with a page object and our own custom objects for marketplace data that we track above and beyond the pages. And they're all accessing the same database as concrete5, and they're all on the same server as concrete5.
So we looked at our Google Analytics data, and then we took some logs, just raw logs off the server, and stuck them in Webalizer. All these tools are a little loosey-goosey when it comes to like what's a page visit, or user visit rather. But those seem to be pretty standard tools.
Yeah, and the sense of scale between them is interesting, even if you're not gonna take them as gospel.
Right. So let's bring up a couple of screenshots here. Or you already are. So this is Webalizer for a week out of the middle of October, and you can see on the 17th there. What are we doing for page visits, Matt? I can't really read.
17.
So just 20-some thousand something.
29,762.
29,000 page visits on the 17th, and we'll look at Google Analytics for the. There you go. For the same day. I think you got another screenshot that is probably just one day of Google Analytics. There's a week, so that gives you a sense. Google Analytics says we're getting about 8,000 page views a day. I think you got another one that's just a single day. There you go. So there's 8,000 visits on the 17th as far as Google's concerned. So that is to concrete5.org, the beautiful site you know and love. But then if we look at Webalizer, it says, actually it was 29,000.
And moreover, what's this 40,000 page views, and then if you actually look at Webalizer's page views, it's like a factor of 10.
It's a factor of 3 as well.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I think it's 60-some thousand. Go back to the graph. I think what I found was we were consistently of our traffic, only a third of it is to the public-facing website. What does it say for pages on the 17th, Matt?
It says 61,000.
Oh.
Yeah. So if you take
no, read it again.
Yeah.
612,000.
Yeah.
Oh.
See, there you go.
Yeah, you're right.
Good lord, we're gonna update that blog post. That's
Yeah.
worse than I thought.
Yeah.
Okay, so a tremendous amount of traffic is hitting concrete5.org back end through your dashboard.
Yeah.
By connecting to the community, paging through those add-ons.
The list.
Lots of activity there. And not an insignificant amount of activity just on the front end. If you look at this shot, this is just what Google is saying that we do on concrete5.org, excluding all the remote connecting stuff. We're doing 1 million page views a month. I'm gonna have to go update this blog post because if that's 600,000, not 60,000, that's extraordinarily higher. Even taking the lower number, saying, because who knows what a visit is versus page views and stuff. It's all very loosey-goosey compared to hits.
Yes.
But I would conservatively be comfortable saying 3 million a month.
That
Seems reasonable.
I mean, there's one marketplace for every single concrete5 site. 95% of concrete5 sites out there, and there are hundreds of. There's hundreds of thousands of installs.
Close to 250,000 installs out there, so that is a lot of hits. So yeah, we're doing millions of page views a month. Concrete5.org is served off of one very hot computer in a rack somewhere. You know, it's not underpowered. It's a dual Xeon quad-core Clover Town, so that adds up to about 8 processors. It's only got 8 gigabytes of RAM on it, and it doesn't even have the fastest hard drive on Earth. I think it's got a 7200 hard drive and a 7200 RPM hard drive, and that's it. There's no load balancer. There's no fancy shenanigans. We do have a secondary server that we stick some CSS files on and some commonly called images and whatnot. But we only started doing that a couple months ago just because it seemed convenient.
We do use that server. There's a very high speed interconnect between the two, and we do use that server for memcache, and that helps a lot. So we're no longer file bound by the concrete5 cache, which is good, and that definitely helps speed wise. Most of the calls off-site are not really taking full advantage of that. So there's the database is still doing a whole bunch of work on that site and doing it with aplomb.
So if you have a site that wants to serve tens of millions of page views a month, you can certainly do that. I would probably recommend more than one machine. But I could easily see having a database server, having a Apache server, maybe a couple of Apache servers, and a load balancer. And this come this way. You know, caching on our site is pretty much kind of an afterthought. I'll turn that on, see if it helps. There's a lot of things that you could do to be a little bit more thoughtful that way. A lot of ways
it definitely helps on our side.
It definitely helps. Yeah. So I'm just saying, it's not like we spent weeks trying to get the dial in how we could best optimize these queries. What could be cached and what couldn't.
No.
And if you're working on a site that's going to get tens or hundreds of millions of page views a month, you certainly do. So hopefully that can put to rest some of the the child meme of concrete5 is for tiny sites, because it just isn't.
It comes up again and again.
I think your theory was actually pretty compelling. It comes up because enterprise software generally looks so horrible.
You assume it's got to be good, or I mean, it has to be powerful and robust because no one would use it for.
But there's no compelling reason to use something that looks so brutally bad beyond
terrible.
Anything that looks good would break.
But and our site looks so commercial focused, or so friendly to a human being.
So I don't know. Just wanted to get that out there. There's a blog post that apparently needs its data slightly updated because I missed a 0. But that's pretty good.
Analyzer stats are serious business.
Another thing to quickly show off: we are getting really close with 5.5. With that, very exciting. We'll talk about that later. But with that, we're going to be doing some updates updates to the community. We've got to we're changing the way Connected Community looks a little bit. We've got this whole news flow thing that you know about if you've been tuning in weekly. There's a number of things that we're going to kind of tweak on concrete5.org. Certainly not a redesign, but stretch the imagination. But we are going to have to, as 5.5 launches, update the community. So we've been making a ever-growing shared Google document of things we want to do about that. Hopefully some long-lasting bugs, I'm mostly thinking around the messaging system, will get addressed as part of that push as well. But one thing I just wanted to kind of show you guys quickly, because it's cute and fun, is we've actually got some new badges in the works. So I think I shot you some screenshots on those, Matt. You can quickly throw through them. I'm not going to spend a tremendous amount of time talking about what they're for. But we've been brainstorming on a big list of badges for a while, and here are a few of them. Some of these are redos of badges that we already have that, frankly, I just banged out of something I pulled off of iStock Photo. So we now have an in-house designer, so the badges are looking sexy. And we've got a whole bunch of new badges coming out. I get to see the Minkris badge, but I think that we're going to actually have a Minkris badge for Minkris.
What can I do to win the Minkris badge?
You could be Minkris.
I could be
This
Minkris.
is a badge of one. So yeah, cool stuff. And it gives you kind of a sense as to the more illustratory, friendly, kind of creative direction that is going to slowly trickle its way up throughout concrete5.org. We've been doing some rethinks of our tour pages. This stuff is not going to launch in one big dramatic push, I don't believe. At least the content parts of it won't. But, you know, cool stuff.
Yeah.
We all like looking at these. Yeah, there's an IRC room badge.
That's cool.
So, yes, I know it's been a long time coming, but I definitely want you to recognize that we do listen. It just, there's just such a long list of things to do. So, where are we now? We are at how do we do that?
How do we do
How
that?
do we do that? So does anybody have a URL you would like us to look at, and we would tell you how we would build it? This would be a great time to have that URL. I got to the office about 19 minutes ago, so I don't have a URL. We actually know how we would do most everything that we're going to do.
Yeah.
So we don't spend a lot of time on our own asking ourselves,
No.
how would we do that?
We can impart knowledge, and we don't look at stuff and
No.
mull it over.
We don't like look at the web.
Yeah.
But if you've got a site for us to look at, we would look at it.
Yeah.
And we would offer feedback, advice, thoughts, best practices, worst practices, ways to do things, ways you probably shouldn't do things.
So we have the link.
Yeah. What do we got?
I would start with green salad.
I would start with green salad. It's a good piece of advice. What is it about this that we can give you advice on? I should probably be vetting these links before we... Yeah, that looks like that's done. That's how we would do that. How would we build a jQuery reservation form with multiple future dates and services? jQuery calendars. As a single page.
There's actually, someone created an attribute that you can download from the marketplace that's called blocked dates. I think that it sets up an entire back-end interface for setting up a list of dates, some of which are open, some of which are closed. And so you could say, I've got an opening on this day, and this day, and this day, and then you could place a form on the front end which called that special attribute type, and then you'd be able to check against that. So we'd use a single page, and as people submitted stuff, you could check against whether the date was filled or not. I mean, the widget actually blocks the dates out for you. You can't click on stuff. And if you started with that, you'd be able to, display calendars that gave you the available dates and didn't give you the ones that weren't. And
Kind of cool.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna have Q&A here in a little bit, so you guys should start coming up with some cues. Oh, we got another one.
Yeah, it looks like we have another link submitted by the same fellow who posted the first one. Put this up here.
All right. Canada's action plan. I would do this. Isn't this done? No. Is
This
this
is a different one.
is this a concrete5 site, or is this just a?
It looks like it actually is a concrete. I see
Looks like you got it. Looks like one big wide block area with stuff in it. That's how I'd do it. All right, well, we're gonna come back on this one because it's less than awesome.
Yeah.
But if there's something that you want us to think about, we've got a little bit of time to think here. How about Karma?
I am not sure if the machine has run yet. We'll check into it.
Let's check the Karma machine. Totally unprepared.
I don't know.
Totally unprepared. All right.
Do we not have any licenses up to give anymore?
We could have run out of licenses at the same time every so often if possible. Does it not run if we're out of licenses, or does it just run and fail?
No, it would hold up the way it looks now. That looks like it hasn't run, but it totally, that thing is weird.
All right. Well, we'll come back to that.
It's like Cron decides not to run sometimes for this.
How about PRB?
Yeah.
Yeah!
Woo! We approved one thing
All right.
in the marketplace this week, and that was multiple flat shipping rates. So this is an add-on for e-commerce, and doesn't look like it's actually in any categories, which means I'm going to have somebody fix that. But basically what this lets you do is have multiple, little background. If you use concrete5's e-commerce, there is a flat shipping method that's in there. So you can say, anytime you make an order, it's $5 to ship something and then $2 for each product. This lets you set that up at the base, but also specify different amounts for different things. So, I think what this, is this for Express? Yeah, so what this lets you do is, this doesn't interact with any back-end shipping providers or anything, but you can define multiple rates that people can choose when they check out if they want to expedite their shipping. So you can have standard shipping and express shipping, and if you do express, it's going to start at $8 to ship versus $2, and maybe it's the same per item cost, or maybe it's got a different per item cost, and then you can fulfill orders the way you choose with your store, but take different amounts and keep track that this order came in express, so I need to send it out faster. So that is what this add-on does, and it was approved.
Cool.
That's it.
And yeah, we've been passing through that stuff. I think there's a couple that might be pretty close.
Yeah.
We'll look again this afternoon, but I think it was basically just kind of a light week.
Yeah. Yeah, there are things stacking up in there. We're trying to clear some of the things out that haven't had any activity. So if you have stuff that we're telling you to try and get to, know that stuff's not going to stay in the PRB forever.
Yeah, we'll delete it. You can submit it again, but it's nice for no one to look at that list and be like, oh.
Yeah, this has been in there for 6 months. Like, yeah, well, the person hasn't looked at it, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we can talk about beta.
Sure, let's do it.
Let's talk about beta.
So the goal today, what we will have by the end of day today, is we will be merging our private. Okay, a little background. For a while, a few months, we had been working on 5.5 secretly in-house, completely in-house, and then about
Skunkworks mode.
Skunkworks mode.
Whiteboard. Skunkworks features.
And then about 3 weeks ago or so, we started a limited alpha where if you specifically had time and skill to devote to helping us reorganize our dashboard and work on some other stuff, you could apply and we would grant you access to a private GitHub repository.
No pants mode. Not pretty.
a little party, a little no pants party.
A little no pants party.
It's like just close friends only.
Go close friends only.
And we did that, and that has worked out really well for us. Everyone who's helped out on the 5.5 alpha team, anyone who's watching this right now or in the chat room right now, thank you very much. This could not be where it is today without your guys' help.
Yes, great.
Yeah, it's great. I think we had something like, over the course of these past few weeks, we started with 40 issues or so in GitHub's issue tracker that I put in there, knowing that we needed to reorganize these pages, etc. The community isolated more issues. It got up to around 120, and I think at this point we have like 10 open, and we're actually probably at 6.
Sure.
Yeah, something like that.
Who cares about 6?
Yeah, I know,
It's
right?
launchable.
And so this has been a really, really great process. And so by the end of the day today, we will take what is in that private repository and merge it back into GitHub's master branch. So at that point, it will be free for people to take. I would not recommend running it on a production server, not because it's going to break terribly, but we reserve the right to, it will upgrade a site currently today, but not all the screws may have been completely tightened yet.
Yes. Yeah.
So
But we would like you to play with it.
Yes,
We'd like you to take
please.
a copy of your site, pull it down locally, upgrade it, and start
Yes.
giving us bugs. And
Absolutely.
let's figure it out.
Because
it
it
doesn't
is
happen without that.
Yeah, and it is a sizable upgrade. It's probably the biggest change we've made to the editing and visual. It's definitely the biggest visual change we've made to concrete5 in one fell swoop.
Sure.
Since we launched.
Yeah.
And there's tons of things that are better. I'll probably try and post a full change log at the time, but it's not limited to testing that stuff. Once you see it, you'll realize that there's going to be a lot of stuff to test. So, and it's pretty awesome. So we will have a beta up by the end of day today, and you'll be able to download it from GitHub. And at that point, we will start ironing out bugs, and we're mostly feature complete.
And that beta is going to have to connect to a separate stage of concrete5.org.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's
So
a little funky.
Yeah, so at this point, part of this new part of 5.5 is a enhanced shopping experience from your site and an enhanced marketplace community, marketplace integration, and with that, we're going to have this beta will be connecting to a new beta concrete5 server. So that will be a completely public. At least right now, we're
Yeah, I think it has to be.
Yeah,
It's gonna be fun.
you're not going to stumble upon it unless you know what you're looking for.
But like your purchases, don't buy something.
Don't
from
buy
the stage.
something from the stage.
You
You
know,
won't be able to
like,
download anything.
Think it through.
You won't be. Downloading will not work. It will give you an error because there are no actual files.
Right. So stuff like that's going to feel a little weird. And that's just the way it's going to be. So,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that'll actually change as we get closer to having a release candidate. Well, now we're going to turn
Yep.
this on a little bit more than it is. But there it is.
Definitely. We will. I'm still struggling on the best way to report bugs to that. I'd probably say report them in the GitHub issue tracker at this point. The concrete5 bug tracker is what we'll be using to iron out some of the low-hanging bugs for 5.5 that have been reported for 5.4.2.2 and earlier. And that's really good to use once official releases come out. So when 5.5 launches, use the regular website. But in the meantime, if you notice something specifically with the beta, just post it to GitHub. So get
It makes
yourself to
sense.
GitHub.
If you can tolerate
Yeah.
the issues there, since
Yeah.
you have to get it out of GitHub, it seems like that makes sense.
Yeah, and we can accept. Well, we are accepting pull requests for fixes on that stuff too.
We
So-
will also be going through all the pull requests that have kind of come in on 5.4.2.2 in the
Yeah.
last couple of months that we've just been like, yeah, cool story.
Yeah.
We will go through those and start to merge those back in as part of going
Yeah,
data here.
I think as part of that process, anything we can merge in, we'll definitely merge in. Some stuff that's cool that we're just not ready to have in there, we're going to be pretty aggressive at denying them at this time. So there's been stuff that's been in there that we've been a little reticent to deny because it's good-hearted or it's cool but not quite there. But I think we're at the point where a lot of those things aren't going to apply cleanly at all to what we're working on now. So it's going to be in everyone's interest if you really want that stuff and we deny it at this point. Just resubmit it once things get a little bit less.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that we don't like the idea.
Yeah.
It means that it's almost the end of the year. Christmas is coming up. We got to get this out called beta. It's going to be early December. We got to launch this thing with enough time that we can actually do a point release after we call it public because there's always a point release,
Oh, yeah.
and I don't want that to be on Christmas.
No.
So, the answer has got to start becoming no.
Yeah.
Let's just go.
Yeah, you guys trust us. You're going to want this quicker because it's nicer to look at. It's much faster to navigate. It's faster just in it's faster as an app. Serving your site. It's the navigation improvements. It's
if you liked Concrete5 before, you're going to love it now.
yeah.
The one big thing that I do want to try to get some new energy on that we haven't really started much with 5.5 that I feel like we could really, I don't know, the whole alpha experience really kind of turned me on. So I feel like with the crowdsourcing energy that we have, we can finally start to solve a problem that people have always complained about, which is documentation. No one likes doing documentation, and I've never, say for one example, which is a little dubious, heard someone say, the documentation on this project, amazing. Every project has documentation issues. It's only when you get to be the size that you have dozens of people writing books in completely different tones and hundreds of thousands of how-tos on different people's websites that it just becomes so easy to learn things through Google that it's a non-issue. And while we're growing very quickly, we're just not there yet. That being said, we know there are things that we could do to make the learning curve better and the documentation just more robust. Some of the things that we want to do, if you remember the Black Monolith site from over a year ago, you know how rough the documentation was originally and how much better the developer's guide in Docs is today than it was before. That developer's guide came out of me giving you like a week,
something like
about
that.
a week,
yeah.
saying, all right, don't worry about anything to do, just go and write how this should be.
Yeah.
But you only have a week.
Yeah.
And that came out, and to be honest, we haven't really spent a whole lot of time with it afterwards. There's some really good stuff in there, but it also gets a little granular fast.
Yeah.
It's kind of like there's nothing at the mid-level. The videos that we've done, like here's how you put a page in edit mode, that's really great for editors. But there's nothing really that kind of like to a developer explains like, hey, here's how you think about problems in concrete5 and kind of here's where you should look and how it goes together. Not that there's nothing, but we could have better stuff in that vein. So we would like to see the docs within concrete5.org mature in that direction, become a little bit more narrative prose, a little bit less API-ish feeling, and a little bit more kind of, I don't know, if you think about any O'Reilly book, there's always like the first half and the second half. First half is here's how you think about the problem, the second half is here's the reference. We need more of that first half. My sense is that you guys can help with that through how-tos, and that you are, but generally that's the kind of stuff that we're just going to have to man up and write. Man up.
Yeah.
So we're going to do that at some point. To kind of make that work, what we really need is for the automatically generated API to be good.
Yeah.
There is an automatically generated API that comes out of, what, PHP Docs?
PHP Documenter.
Yeah, PHP Documenter. That looks horrible.
Yeah.
But people go to it, and what ends up happening is every time we do a release, we completely forget about it because we don't really use it, and we don't regen it, and then like a week later people start complaining, why isn't the API updated? And go, oh yeah, and we update it, and it's just abysmal. I mean, the thing is like this huge list of stuff on the side that's not organized at all.
It's in these terrible frames. I don't know what we can do. I have scoured the web for acceptable looking PHP Documenter templates and found little, so that might be a lost
I have
cause.
seen, I think someone did a better looking version of it, but it's just put lipstick on the pig. I mean, it was still frames and stuff. But still, I mean, it's pretty piggy. So we might go with kind of tightening that up a little bit. But the key there is two things. Is first, the way it breaks those pages up doesn't make sense. And apparently you can actually affect the way it breaks pages up if you add the right header stuff to various files.
Around the very early version, we tried to clean this up when we commented the code extensively the first time in the headers, but we've added so much code over the years that we've not been good about maintaining that stuff. So you can kind of get a sense as to what's changed in the last 2 years based on which classes are completely outside a sensible navigation.
So the navigation is just a huge list. And we can change that by putting the right header stuff in there. And I feel like I can give you a day, or probably half less than a day, to go through and make those things right. And at least when we generate it, there'll be some sanity to the list on the side. The other part of that is the more inline comments, the better. All that thing is doing is parsing out comments and putting them in pretty format. So that's just a lot of brute force work. I mean, I'm sure there are parts that only the core team knows what they do, but I don't think probably a lot. I really feel like this is one of those things that we could crowdsource and say, hey, I don't think it'd take even that long. If you've got 30 minutes and you'd like to help, here's a small file. Just go through and comment everything that you can. So we're going to put a little bit of energy into doing like I guess you'd call it a style guide, but like some type of...
not really. Style guide's probably not the right, sort of like a what to focus on guide, something like that.
Right, because I mean, no one wants to know that like, what is I? I is an integer. Okay, thanks. But so how to write inline code comments that might be helpful. where we would like to see that tone, so it's not ridiculously verbose, but it's not so terse that it's useless.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll write up kind of like rules of the road. Let's call it that.
There you go.
And then we'll do a quickie example of kind of like a before and after. And then I think we're going to try to make that the next big challenge for the alpha, I guess now beta team. So if you've got some time, you want to pull 5.5 down, see if it upgrades your site, and you're looking for kind of like, well, how can I tinker and give back a little bit to the community? Chirp up with an interest in helping with the inline comments. Do we want to manage this with issues, or like how are we going to do this?
Well, I mean, people have already done this with pull requests in the past, so and that's the right way to do it. However, in terms of tasking people with it explicitly, let's see. I'd probably say we should create a new, what they're called, teams in GitHub.
Yeah.
And we'll create a new team, and this team won't have access to anything special, but they will be taskable, and I will use that. I will use that to determine who gets access, and we'll just go through each file and go for it.
We'll task you, we'll give you a badge, we'll give you some karma, do a whole lot of it, I'll send you a shirt. Tell me what I need to do to make this happen, because much like concrete5 is built for 5-page websites, I find this meme tedious. We need to get better inline code, comments, and be done with it. We can set aside some time to write some, here's how we think about problems documentation, and we can all move on to solving real problems. So that would help tremendously. I think as 5.5 comes out, it is such a major update that it's a real opportunity to kind of bring our house in order, as it were. And this is one thing that I think we should really try to focus some energy on. And it really does feel like we've reached kind of a tipping point with the community now, where we can throw some crowdsourcing energy at this. For us, it's just so daunting.
There's a
half
lot
a
of
million
code.
lines of code. A lot of that is Zen libraries and stuff that we're not going to touch. But I could never afford to have my team go through and do this. But I know there's enough people who rely on concrete5 and know it just as well as us that you guys can help, and we can all live with a better tomorrow and an okay today.
Yeah.
And that'll be great. All right, so that is what we know. I did see a couple of questions came up.
I gotta get some water.
Andy's got to get some water or coffee.
Sorry,
or something.
everyone.
As you may be able to tell from our chipper
water.
voices and whatnot, there's been a
Oh my god.
little fall disease around the office. But we're hanging in there. We'll set like a sign-up form or something for the documenters team. I feel so alone all of a sudden. No, but there was some questions. Maybe there are ones that I can answer.
Yeah,
what do you got, Matt? I can't really talk and parse at the same time.
Sure, yeah. John the Fish asks, can we have docs and a wiki? That way, whenever we can spot anything to improve, we can just edit it.
Well, yes and no. There is a site editors section that we launched a couple of weeks ago in the docs, and we used the Lacerto content block to do that. We ended up finding that the way that works, permissions is a little funky, and we just didn't feel comfortable. We couldn't really set it up in a way that would really behave, letting anyone who came to the page just edit it. But there is a group of people who can do so. So if you want to have access to the editor's guide section on concrete5.org to be able to kind of dial that in, that would be great. That is another thing that we're going to have to do when 5.5 launches, because of course everything looks different now. So all that editor's guide is going to have to change. And in terms of wiki, as like I can just point on something in the page and edit it, which feels like CMS to me. That is built that way. In terms of like wiki is like I can edit in the page, well no, because PHP Documenter is parsing the actual source of the thing and spitting it out. And that's kind of the way you want that to work, because as we add new classes, functions, and code, like we don't want to have to go back over to concrete5 and update thousands of pages that are now out of sync. So we've talked before about, gee, would there be a way to like generate a concrete5 page from a class? And it's just, I mean, anything's possible, but what a time suck. So I think the right way to do that is to consider GitHub, the wiki, and the inline code comments, the content, and let's use the workflow and collaboration tools there to get meaningful content in there. I think beyond that, how-tos are a great way. I'd love to have as many voices as we can explaining how different people think about problems. As the how-to section continues to grow, I definitely see the value in throwing some energy at how can we better organize and kind of aggregate stuff out of there, so it's not just a huge searchable pile.
Yeah, like the how-tos are awesome, and it's always been kind of a challenge figuring out where everything goes. Like in the developers section, take blocks for example. In the developers section, just take me, please. In the developer's guide, when you go into blocks, you should get an understandable overview of what a block is, why you as a developer should care, just a couple sentences on how easy they are to make and what problems they solve. And then you should ideally then get a list of, and perhaps how to manipulate them programmatically, just getting the object. And then at that point, you get a link over to the API, rather than having some of the API in the page. And then you should get a list of all the how-tos that deal with blocks. Because that's where we have create a block type, add a block to the sidebar. Like that's where the more concrete examples live. And then underneath we already have discussions on a topic. So we just need to do the same thing with that and keep the kind of data structured, keep the actual docs section as a way to present all these disparate policies.
Yeah, I mean the challenge with documentation is you got to be able to present this in such a way that someone can read it and there's a coherent story there in a single voice. I think you want to read it. And I think just setting up a wiki and being like good luck is probably going to result in kind of like a lot of half-started ideas and
Yeah, if you actually read the WordPress docs, they are the WordPress developer docs that are in the WordPress wiki. I have no doubt there's tons of data in there, but the organization of it is just baffling.
Yeah, although they're spectacular people.
Yeah, I like that.
Great blog,
and people putting energy into it are great.
It's
but
all
the
super
organization of it is such.
Yeah. So I don't know. There's questions around that. So I think what we learned out of the alpha phase is that crowdsourcing works really, really well when you can kind of divvy things up into biteable chunks.
Yeah.
We've had it's been a tremendous learning experience for us in kind of managing this to have so many people who want to help, and then like kind of how do you take like this kind of abstract I'd like to volunteer energy into here's something that you can do that you can actually wrap your mind around, sink your teeth into, get done and feel good about
and know we're going to accept.
Because it can't just be like, we need 400 hours to figure out how concrete5 can put butter on toast. You're not going to be able to pull that off, and we're not going to accept it. So. I kind of feel like just setting up a wiki and saying, docs will be better that way. It's kind of like, go figure out relativity and let me know when you're done with that. So, yes and no. Please do help us with the inline code comments in GitHub, but we're going to try to kind of bring in a middle management level of energy there so we can actually make sure that pages that have no comments get some attention and, the energy that you guys are, thank you very much, willing to contribute is well placed and not just it goes into a hole. What else do you have, Matt?
Let's see. I think going along with the documentation and contributing to that idea. Let's see. Here NT asks, what will happen to the existing documentation for people with 542 sites? He has a lot of customers, and they might not be upgrading everyone.
I think we'll probably leave documentation as it is. I mean, our approach at this point is to create, it has been for a long time with documentation, is to create new sections that we think are a better approach, and mostly leave the old stuff where it is. When it gets really out of date and it's just no longer accurate and there's a better page, we do end up deleting it and then doing the custom forwards from page properties. So I think there was some old how to theme articles that ended up pointing to new ones. But when we sink our teeth into doing the new demos for 5.5 and stuff, I'm going to make a new tree and just try to make that pretty. We may end up trying to bury the old tree over time or something, but we will try to be very sensitive about deleting stuff that people depend on today.
Yeah, I think the developer docs, I mean, you might tell me that we can't do this. We pretty much keep the developer docs. They are the state of the art. But the editor's guide, the basics section, like, those definitely should be version specific as well. Like,
yeah, we'll keep the editor's guide as it is, and we'll make a new 5.5 editor's guide.
Yeah.
We'll eventually bury the old old one. And, yeah, we'll try to be thoughtful to this.
So there's a little discussion of some Codeigniter style error validation or form validation error presentation in the chat room. And I just mentioned a bootstrap too, and I think we're using that for validation in 5.5, is that right?
For display of stuff, yeah. Just generalized how to make a form look pretty. We're using Twitter's bootstrap stuff.
Cool. We did have one kind of development-oriented question from someone in the chat room. That's user CB Knits, and they asked how they might integrate some code they've written to help validate and diagnose stitching patterns.
Oh yeah, I saw that one. That was cool. Sounded like, let me throw this back at you and see if I'm understanding this. You want to build a website where people are submitting diagrams for like textile stitching. Like I'm going to do a needlepoint type thing or something. And so there's some type of how-to-y diagram and narrative that goes with it. And then there's some type of review process that you want your editor, like some limited group of people, to go through and say yay or nay, or be able to edit it. Am I understanding that correctly?
Sounds like yes.
Yes. Okay then.
I don't even know what goes into
No review
submitting.
process. So
Well, put the stitching thing aside and say it's submitting, out or something. It's
Well, if there's no review process, I just create a single page that had some custom form elements on it, and submitted that to a controller, and use that data to add a new page of a certain type below a patterns section of the website.
mm-hmm.
If you look up the example FAQ add-on, which is free, you can find what that does is basically creates no, that's not a very good example because it's not public facing. Well, what that does do is it adds a single page to your dashboard, which when you fill it out, adds a new page of a certain type under a particular section of the site. And what you would basically do is use that as the starting point, but instead of putting it in the dashboard, just put it on the front end of your website.
Yeah, so you would certainly have a page type for these diagrams. You might make some blocks that are specific. The diagram itself might be a custom block. I've seen something that you can export the thing as a CSV file. So I don't know how that works. If there's like an image or some kind of data that you upload and then display it in some cool way. But I'd probably treat that as a block. You then create a single page that will let you generate new pages following this page type. I did see you mention something about attributes. Yeah, if there is kind of like a, you say no review process, but if you want to see people to say like this looks good or not, even though it's always public, that might be a good way to deal with it. If you want to store any metadata against the thing of, I've looked at this, even though they're always alive, you can create a new custom attribute to deal with that. Yeah, that kind of thing. So I hope that gives you at least a direction to start thinking.
Yeah.
I see another question in there about 5.5 and the dashboard homepage. Looks like very eager to have an answer. We've gotten rid of the dashboard front page in 5.5. Some people from other CMSs might miss that. Well, the dashboard really behaves in a very different way with 5.5. So I guess in the abstract, literally, yes. You just don't go to the dashboard. You get to parts of the dashboard as you need to. To kind of compensate for that, we have a number of even better ways to get information in front of your customers, whether it's from us or from you, if you guys are white labeling it. There is an overlay page that you'll get either on top of your site or on top of the dashboard page. First time you log in a 24-hour period as an admin, You'll see this page, welcome back. It shows you some of the data that we used to show you on that dashboard landing page. Also shows you new add-ons, news from us, how-tos, that type of stuff, and segues you into a news flow, kind of like Flipboard on your iPad, where you can learn more about what's going on with community and how you can build things with concrete5. That is, of course, something you can turn off if you're a developer and you want that turned off.
I mean, I guess there is still, if you go to index.php/dashboard, you get the same types of data that you get today at the dashboard. We just basically have made it, and there is, I would actually say that there's more chance to look at that stuff because now, as Franz mentioned, you'll see that data, you'll see that dashboard home, or what currently is dashboard home, you'll see that once a day, even if your login flow takes you back to the home page.
Yeah.
If you set your login flow to take you to the dashboard on login, you'll see that it'll be just like today. You'll see that stuff as it is today. The only thing that we've really changed is that you don't have to see that every time you want to go to the dashboard.
Right.
So, today you click dashboard to add a user, you have to see the graph,
right,
because you have to go there first to then click on the user.
2 minutes later.
Yeah. So now you can jump straight, via a couple different options, you can jump straight to adding a user. But no, all the data's still there. It's actually a lot more customizable today than it is.
Significantly. We completely agree. When we were doing our research on what the experience was like for people who weren't us using concrete5, that was the takeaways. Well, I don't know what you guys are doing because I never go to the dashboard unless my site's broken.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to the dashboard, I'm usually scared or pissed, and I certainly don't want to read news.
Yeah.
And so that struck us as that's not good. And the reality was people had no idea that there was even an e-commerce block for add-on for concrete5. So we were definitely having communication issues. And if you think way back to the beginning of this Totally Random, 2/3 of the traffic hitting concrete5.org have never been to concrete5.org. Yeah. So there's a disconnect happening there, and we are eager to bridge that gap. So fear not, and go play with 5.5. I think you'll like it.
Yeah.
I also see something about how-tos. Actually that came up recently. I can't promise you when it'll happen, but I think we're going to look at the editing experience around how-tos and revisit that a little bit. This is news to you, so you're not going to like it. But the fact that you can't upload images inline at all seems problematic. And I think, I could be mistaken, but I believe that if you have a how-to and it's approved, if you try to edit it, you can't approve your own edits.
No, that's false.
Is it?
Yeah, you're talking about Jordan's problem.
Yeah.
He's in a docs group who has special access to edit stuff.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, never mind.
So, no, that's false.
You can edit, you can approve your own how-to
Yep.
edit. Yeah, because
Yeah.
that seems sane.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, then that's working perfectly.
Yeah.
I do think it'd be nice to be able to upload images to a how-to without having to host them on your own site somewhere, though. So we might look at some of that. Okay, anything else? It's been about an hour.
Yeah, just one more from Wagdi over in the UK.
Sure. I like it.
It would be great to have a step-by-step guide to building an add-on. Do we have anything like that hanging around?
Yeah, it's in the
sure.
how-tos.
Yeah.
Tony made one a while ago that's pretty awesome. It's got screenshots and everything. You might want to try this too, Matt, just and paste the link in there. But you should search in there for package.
Just search concrete5.org for
Yeah,
package.
search for
Look for your
package.
package. Search. See what you can find. How-tos.
Probably in the how-tos.
Yeah,
though.
probably the how-tos. I bet you our actual search will work on that. You don't have to rely on Google.
Packaging
Just
up
search
theme.
live.
So packaging up a theme is good.
Something about Tony's though, something from Tony. See one by Tony? That's from 12345J.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Okay.
Like package tutorial. Oh yeah. Oh, that's from me, I suppose. Keep it going. It's pretty old.
Creating a new block type?
No.
No.
It's not. Well, search in there. There's stuff in there. I don't remember exactly.
I mean, that infamous FAQ tutorial covered that to some degree, right?
Yeah, I mean... Oh, wait, go into... No, hold on. It's in the developer docs. There's developer docs in the documentation.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Look for packages.
Your system, perhaps?
Yeah.
This one's what you're thinking of?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, under system
Yes.
packages.
That.
Yeah, there you go. Chock full of information.
Yes.
Words and stuff.
Yes.
Code examples.
I'll paste that link in the chat room. So.
Yes.
Fine.
Full documentation.
All right. Well, I think it's time for us to get to work.
Yeah.
This has been fun, but we gotta get beta out the door. So, yeah. And some cough drops.
Yeah, big time.
There's some food.
Oh, God.
Thank you very much. I will figure out something here in terms of how to get people properly motivated and opting in for the documentation effort. Sounds like that might be a new form you get to fill out somewhere. I really feel like that's an important part of what we're about to do over the next couple of weeks. And we couldn't be more excited to get 5.5 out the door. So there it is. Thanks. See you
Thanks,
again.
everybody.
Probably next week.